So I will take the timestamp and you can lead into the next topic.
Yes, okay, so I didn't even know about this until yesterday. I had to go to my GP to get my tea prescription sorted out. And she's just like, "Oh yeah, did you hear? The Lord Mayor said some really transphobic stuff on the radio." So that's what we're talking about. Yeah, so Basil Zemplis, the Lord Mayor of Perth, barely a week after being elected, has made some transphobic comments on the morning radio. Why was he even on the morning radio? It's because he's basically just a sports commentator who, for some reason, we elected to be in charge of our central business district, which Australian politics. But yeah, he said some very transphobic things. He said, if you have a penis, then you're a man. If you've got a vagina, you're a woman. Game over. He said that there are more redheads listening to 6PR than there are hermaphrodites, quote unquote. When he was asked how he would handle a constituent who is a woman but has a penis, he asked, handle the penis, which, if you watched last week, is the same trans misogyny that we saw in the CD Projekt Red story. It's just everywhere. And he also offered a $100 Retrovision voucher to any woman with a penis who called the show. And this actually pisses me off that trans men weren't included, because I would have loved to call up and explain to him how he's extremely cowardly for only offering $100. Basil, you coward. Like, we both know if a trans person called up, you would say they don't count, because you're saying by definition anyone with a penis isn't a woman and anyone with a vagina isn't a man. Why would you only offer $100? I want you to offer $1 million, and then I can call up, and then you have to give me $1 million. Basil, you coward.
For those who don't know, the H word is a outdated and derogative term. Is derogative the word one? That's a prerogative.
Derogatory. Yeah.
Derogatory term for intersex people.
And it's also just very inaccurate to trans people. We're not half male and half female. I mean, unless you want to identify that way, which that's not what he means.
As discussed in the last show, the transphobe's mind just tends to blur these things together. Until we start to use the facts that people with differences in sex development kind of disprove the sex binary, at which point they're completely irrelevant and no one should bring them up whatsoever.
I thought the line was that everyone is either completely male or completely female. So trans people are a mix, but intersex people aren't, which I don't understand. I don't get it. But yeah, he received a lot of backlash. It's just, wow, beautiful.
That's a good thing to say.
Yeah, Retrovision really weren't happy to be associated with the incident. Now, they're a corporation, so take everything they say with a lot of salt, but they claim to be very firm supporters of the LGBTIQ plus community. So when their voucher was being offered up by this transphobe for this transphobic test, they were basically like, we're not with him. We are not with him. No, thank you. We don't want to be involved in this. And then the Telethon Institute were really unhappy. And I forgot to research this beforehand. So tell me, Ethel, is Telethon a thing that you've heard of, or is it possibly an Australian thing?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person to see if it's something that I'm aware of, because I'm not someone with a great cultural connection.
Have you heard of Telethon, the charity?
I have not.
Okay, it's probably an Australian thing. So Telethon is a charity that does independent medical research. They do, from what I understand, have like a general one that does it for like adults, but they also have a big presence with this separate thing of, not separate, but like they have telethon kits, and that's the main thing you will see advertised when you go to shops. There's like coin collections for it. And they do research for children. So this is basically a children's charity that does medical research, basically. They were really unhappy because Zemplis specifically has hosted a lot of their fundraising events over the years. And Zemplis also works for 7 West Media as a popular, prominent presenter and columnist, and Seven West Media is one of Telethon's big sponsors. So they were suddenly being, associated with this transphobia, when Telethon Kids is currently researching transphobia. So they were really not happy. They were very graceful about it, and they've invited Zempless to the Telethon Institute to learn a bit more and educate himself. There have been quite a few demands from both individuals and organizations like Telethon Kids and LGBT advocacy groups asking him to educate himself, which has been really good. There's also a petition launched asking for Perth's Pride Fest to move out of the central business district and into the neighboring city of Vincent. And what I find quite funny is because of how small Perth is, they're basically moving like 2 streets over. It's like sidestepping and just being like, okay, we're in the city of Vincent now. I haven't seen any confirmation that is happening, but there is a push for that to happen, which is cool.
Okay.
And also within hours of this whole thing happening, the Perth Scorpions Volleyball Club launched a petition demanding Zempless to stand down as mayor. And the rugby team, Perth Rams, has also condemned him. If you were watching, I keep saying last week, if you're watching last fortnight, I talked a bit about transphobia and rugby, and I said that like the national and state and local and grassroots sort of groups, I think are going to be very trans-affirming, even though World Rugby isn't. So that's really encouraging, I think, as well. And Zempless has been very harshly criticized by LGBT plus advocacy groups. Many West Australians are protesting. They have some really great chants. And he's also even been condemned in the international news, even though the Lord Mayor of Perth is actually not really in charge of anything. Like the central business district, it's really tiny. It doesn't really do much. I'm surprised that this has international coverage. So in response to all this backlash, Zempless tried to apologize. He said, for a moment, I forgot I was the Lord Mayor of the city of Perth. So I don't know if this is clear to everyone or if there's like cultural things in the way, but like he's very clearly saying that he's sorry he forgot people outside his old boys club now care about what he says. Go Scorpions and go Rams. I agree, Goza. I agree. He's very clearly very sorry that now that he's the mayor, people from all kinds of backgrounds are listening to him, people of all kinds of identities, and they expect basic respect now. He can't get away with just being in his old boys club where he can say horrible things about people.
So pretty much
have no repercussions.
So pretty much he's sorry for being called out.
He's not sorry he did it, he's sorry he got called out. And he tried claiming that what he said didn't reflect how he felt, but very luckily no one is buying it. So it has been very encouraging. The support the trans community has had both within Western Australia and all over the world has been amazing. It's been so great to see people show up for trans people like this. But in researching this, there's also a bit of a sour note in that in researching this, I learned that Zempless has also made some comments about the homeless, and the support for the homeless, unfortunately, has not been as strong. He vowed to clean up the Hay and Murray Street malls and the surrounding areas forcibly if necessary. So he's threatened to use like physical violence to banish homeless people from his jurisdiction when they need his help. And like this has been acknowledged, but it's really only been a footnote in these transphobia stories. And I can't help but see a bit of unfairness in the reporting. Zempless has been openly transphobic for less than a month, and only after he was elected, after it was too late, after we couldn't change our minds now that we see his true colors. And even then, there's been so much effort to remove him on that basis. But he's been openly anti-homeless for 2 years, and he was elected anyway. And despite all of that, only the transphobia has international coverage. There's like 2 articles about the anti-homelessness, and there's 6 or more about the transphobia. And it is a bit disappointing, because the thing is, as much as Zemplis's transphobia is harmful, like, you know, it feeds into transphobic culture, and that does come back and harm people eventually. Anyone in his constituency is going to feel a bit iffy. Anyone trying to work in politics in Perth is going to have trouble. There is harm there, but he can't do that much to hurt trans people. As a Western Australian trans person, I'm no worse off after finding out about this than I was before I found out about it. I'm no worse off than I was a month ago before it happened. He doesn't have institutional power over us. He can't take hormones out of our hands. He can't force us onto the streets. He can't deny us legal recognition. He's only the man. He can't really do anything. But for the homeless, he will literally kill them.
Yeah.
Whether he forces them out of the streets openly, or does it surreptitiously through something like hostile architecture, or simply does nothing at all and just leaves these inadequate supports as they are, a lot of homeless people are going to suffer and potentially die. And I just can't help but think, based on the reaction we've had to the transphobia, what if he had said he was going to remove trans people from the Hay and Murray Street malls by force? And I think we need to bring that same energy and that same outrage we would have for that to these comments and this mistreatment of the homeless. I'm not saying that the outpouring support for trans people is wrong. We do definitely need to keep doing that. And we need to keep working until Zemplis is forced to stand down, and maybe even until he's removed from 7 West Media. We need to make it clear that transphobia is not acceptable and this is non-negotiable. But we need to have that same energy for other issues, especially more pressing issues like homelessness. And like, this story has shown me that there's a certain interest in trans issues and trans people that other marginalized groups don't have. And I think trans people could use that interest to uplift other groups and issues that are being neglected.
Yeah.
And so I hope we can say, okay, what we're doing about the transphobia is great. Keep doing that. How about we also do that for the homeless at the same time? We have kind of seen that in the protest chants, and I think we could do a lot more.
That's a very valid position to have and to forward. It's certainly something that we should work to live by. So yeah.
But on the left, we do try to help each other as marginalized groups.
Yes, contrary to what the right likes to say, like, the groups can work together, and there are signs of that. Like, we saw how the Black Lives Matter groups in America, how they reacted to homeless issues, etc. as well. And in general, like the shootings of white people, like, the Black Lives Matter groups also spoke on that, because isn't it something that impacts Black Lives Matter, and that's important, but also it does impact other people. And they were the ones speaking out about it. The people who weren't were the fascists who were going, why aren't they talking about this? And it's like, but yes.
It actually really does. Okay, like, here's the thing is, the Central Business District is somewhere I go quite a lot. It's like the Hay Street Mall is where I walk into when I get out of the train station. So these are places I've seen these homeless people. I don't have coins in my wallet because I keep giving them to homeless people, and every time I do, I just keep thinking, I wish I could do more, because giving them the money I can spare isn't really going to do anything. We need systemic change. But I just didn't know how to do that because I was never taught how politics works. And this has made me realize, like, here's an opening to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, that we can.
The status quo doesn't want you politically equipped, though.
No, the status quo does not want us politically equipped. But I'm just thinking, like, we've had a lot of progress on the trans issues, and we're so close to getting our way. and it just I can see so many possibilities.
Yeah.